Okay, so I wasn't really gonna say anything more about this whole Kendrick Lamar and Drizzy Drake situation, okay? And the only reason why I mentioned Kendrick, Lamar's, name first is because he's the problem, okay? Um, and I'm gonna get into that. I never paid the whole beef situation any mind, to be honest. Like, I don't pay beefs or clashes any mind. Um, cause like for me, I always just perceive them as orchestrated shit to, manipulate people into, focusing on, or investing money into these record labels. So I just, and then, it's just my frequency. I just don't do the whole petty low vibrational 3D shit. Okay. Um, you know, a lot of you, melanated people, like, I mean, really melanated because you got, the melanated Asians and blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about like dark skinned melanated motherfuckers out there. You know what a lot of y'all's problem is? You think that you can guilt trip other races, okay? You think y'all can guilt trip people. Let me just say that, including other melanated motherfuckers like yourselves, into giving a fuck about irrational, trivial shit that you waste your every motherfucking day life on, like motherfucking racism. And I keep telling people that that shit don't matter because every race been enslaved at some point in time. Every race been exploited. Racism isn't a black person, dark melanated person's issue. It's a motherfucking human, collective issue to exploit those deemed um, uh, more inferior, most inferior, or most vulnerable at any point throughout history. It's just what it is. Okay? And so it's not a white person minded thing. It's not, an Asian minded thing. It's not a, a black person minded thing, or African minded person thing. It's just not. Human beings, dense low vibration, dense, dense low vibrational motherfucking human beings will exploit anybody that leaves themselves vulnerable. The song says, everybody wants to use you. Some of them want to use you, I should say, and some of them want to be used by you. In this world, there are two sets of people. You tell yourself that. You don't tell yourself that, oh, there are brown people, black people, and white people. Don't tell your fucking self that. And maybe yellow people if you want to, say the Asians are yellow. And some of them are brown skin. Okay. They're just two sets of people. Motherfuckers who want to use you and motherfuckers who want to be used by you. And that's it. Period. That. Okay? Yeah. So, I've been saying to black motherfuckers, yeah, listen, y'all get up and you blame other races for the enslavement, the most recent form of enslavement, which was, of the black race, right? Like, I don't people say the black race because, or the African race rather, because the Indians were, somewhat enslaved right after that through indentureship. And even though they received some form of stipend, they were still ill-treated, and that money that wasn't shared. Okay, just that money was just to make the previous motherfucking slaves jealous, that they left. Like it's like you being with a nigga, okay, and you can flip the script vice versa. Because bitches out here toxic like niggas, okay? It's a human nature freaking thing. And that's why I ain't gonna jump ship and say, oh, I'm gonna become a lesbian because I done got hurt by so many niggas. Because it's the same thing. Because bitches, they jump ship, and the bitches, they do the same things, and even worse to them. Okay? It's either you're attracted to bitches or you're attracted to niggas. And it's just that, period, period, dot. You know? Yeah, there's no fucking trauma bonding, jumping ship shit over here. Okay? Where the fuck was I now? Um, so you with a toxic nigga, right? He ain't doing shit. You know, you paying him to do the bare minimum, and that he won't motherfucking do, okay? And so you leave his ass, and he decides. Sometimes you don't even gotta leave his ass. You just be what he calls nagging, okay? And you may call, you know, standing up for yourself, demanding, better, which would be a form of revolt. You revolted, okay? And, he gets with another bitch, okay? And he starts giving her the bare minimum. I know some of them, they give them, way more than the bare minimum, okay? But we just using this analogy. He starts giving that bitch the bare minimum. And it's supposed to piss you the fuck off and start make you question your fucking worth. To think to yourself, then what the fuck was I doing wrong? Why he couldn't do the bare minimum for me? You know, because that's what they gave the Indians, okay, bare minimum ship, okay, and was just supposed to piss off the previous motherfuckers. You're supposed to, should have felt privileged to be their motherfucking slaves. It's just the human motherfucking nature thing. You got a lot of black niggas out here with the same fucking mentality and mindset. Ain't no fucking difference or better in the black race. It's just who was vulnerable at the time. And I say this also to black motherfuckers. Listen to this. Y'all cuss Caucasians for enslaving y'all's ass, but who the fuck handed you over to the Caucasian niggas? Oh, who? Your own motherfucking niggas for mirrors, for cotton, for. Now look at the fucking irony of that fucking shit. They sold y'all asses out for cotton, and you eventually turned out to pick the same motherfucking cotton that they sold y'all out for. That's some deep shit. It reminds me of the fucking irony of Too Hard for the Radio that Juicy Drake did. And motherfuckers in their feelings and not wanting to play on the radio. Because it is too hard for the radio. Because, for them motherfuckers. Because they bitches. And that's why he did Janet shut the fuck up. Because he steps ahead of motherfuckers. Motherfuckers gonna say shit. He's like, Janice, you bitch ass niggas out there, you niggas out there that be acting like men, who are actually bitches, dressed like niggas, okay? You Janices, okay? You've been talking for a long time and you've been saying a lot of shit and shit that didn't add up and shit that just wasn't true, just out of point of just saying shit because you just love to talk like a bitch. Because it's not customary for a man to talk a lot. Moreover, too much. So the fact that you're talking so much and saying even shit that's not true, because a liar is a motherfucker who loves to talk. And that's why Gemini is the liar frequency of the zodiac. Okay? Because Gemini rules the mouth, the lips, words, communication. And let me tell you something. That's why Doja be telling on herself. She's a Libra and their first house is in Gemini. And Sun in Gemini. Never trust a Libra and a motherfucking Gemini. Because guess what? Nobody talks more than a fucking Libra and a fucking Gemini. And a motherfucker who talks too much is a fucking liar. Because we have this concept here in Jamaica, in which when you talk a lot, you eventually gonna start saying shit that ain't true. But a lot of y'all got low IQ and you dumb as fuck, and you tend to give in to the motherfuckers that say too much. Okay, I saw someone comment under a post and say, okay, did you see release 3 albums in one night? You ain't hearing from that nigga in 6 years. Because he ain't going to be doing the back and forth, chatting too much like some batty boy. Okay? Let's just say that and get that out the fucking way. And stop calling motherfucking silk soft. Okay? It's smooth. There's difference between a silk nigga and a soft nigga. Kendrick Lamar is soft. Because I'm going to get into that right now. Why I say that? Because he's a bitch. And y'all so desperate for people to pity your motherfucking black asses that you allow them to use racist, this so-called illusion of racism, because racism is an illusion. It is a fucking illusion. You're gonna say a white person hates you because you're dark skinned and that's racism. Motherfuckers, your own black people hate you because you're dark skinned. What the fuck is that? Yeah, they call that colorism in psychology, but or sociology, but really though? Really. It's just fucking hate. That's just what it is. Stop stop categorizing hate. Like, who does that? How the fuck did we get there? It's just jealousy, you know, for some, and hate because some people are jealous that you're melanated. It's true. Like, melanin looks very exotic on some of us, okay? And it intimidates and infuriates and make, you know, lighter pigmented niggas and bitches feel inferior because of the exoticness of the melanin. Okay? It ain't gonna look, it don't look good on some of you because you are vibrating at a self-hating motherfucking frequency. And that's the fucking difference right there. Okay? You can tell when a melanated motherfucker loves themselves. Like, loving yourself presents you in a completely different light and way. When you love yourself, you attract attraction and love. You vibrate at a magnetic frequency. And I can tell you that that's not a hack. You know, it's not a hack, HACK, because, like, even though I tell a lot of y'all this, y'all still will never get to that frequency because it's just who you are. You're just dense, and some of you are unupgradable. Just like some devices are unupgradable, some people are unupgradable. And it's just what the fuck it is. Okay? Now, so that's how I perceive it. I mentioned that I was talking to this Caucasian nigga some years ago, you know, and when I first met his mom, okay, because I used to stay at her place, right? She was a little condescending towards me, and at that point, I thought racist. That was before my mind evolved. But even though I was thinking at that racism, you know, segregation, low IQ, you know, small minded level, I still had enough sense to know that it came from, it could only come from a low vibrational, you know, small minded individual. And I thought to myself, a racist motherfucker is a dumb motherfucker. The fact that you cannot fathom that, you know, there is a light spectrum with, you know, varying frequencies. Just has, you know, so you got variety of people, just as you got variety of plants and animals, and it's just right there. I talked about this so many times before. And so for me, for me, racism never made fucking sense. But the older I get, I can say definitely for me, the older I get, the wiser I get. Racism is just not a thing. It's just, dumb people cannot perceive and understand the concept of variety, and that's just what the fuck it is. Now, before I get into the whole bitch ass Kendrick Lamar shit, just as you got bitches out here who feels inferior towards light skinned bitches, you got niggas out here who feels inferior towards light skinned niggas. That's the thing. Whilst I did say that, um, uh, there isn't block a blockade or blockage of, you know, um, dark skinned niggas in the especially hip hop, R&B, rap industry, because they're dark skinned. Nonetheless, okay, it goes for the opposite. It's a flip, because like men and women, we're human. We're spiritual beings having human experiences, but we're opposite genders. You feel what the fuck I'm trying to say? So we're not the same. We're the same, but we're not the same, and that's a paradox. Okay, we're the same because we fall under the same specimen, okay? But we're not the same because we have opposite functions and purposes and that's word I was gonna use. And roles. Okay? So you may say one is to lead, one is to follow. I'm not gonna get into that with you bitches out here, okay? Because some things are just so, and just that's just what the fuck it is. But like I said, like when you're a single woman, you vibrate at both masculine and feminine frequencies. So guess what? Once you out here vibrating at both frequencies, you get to lead and choose. So you get to lead and follow. So you you lead by choosing which motherfucker you you follow. You get what I'm trying to say? And we all do that at some point in time, even the niggas, because they be saying follow fashion, but we all follow fashion to some extent, still authentic and unique, but pulling inspiration from around us, which is it goes back to being somewhat follow fashion, but not to the whole industry plant, word for word, T for T, I for I sense. Okay, that is just too much. Okay, that's not inspiration at that point. That's just straight up being a copycat, follow fashion. That's annoying. Okay, now, where the fuck was I? So, yeah, you got niggas out here. I realized you got a lot of dark skinned niggas out here who are inferior towards Drizzy Drake because they ugly as fuck. And I'm not saying being dark skinned is being ugly. They feel ugly. And so if they look fucking ugly, they look ugly because they feel ugly. That's the fucking point I'm trying to say. That's why a lot of y'all don't look good with, melanin, because you hate that melanin. So guess what? It works against you, not fucking for you. Okay? Yeah. Now, that nigga, that ugly ass nigga, I get the point of why, or I don't know if it's just an irony why he calls his name Charlemagne, but I'm not gonna even gonna say the not because he ain't that. Charlemagne. It reminds me of the word chameleon. I don't know. It might seem a far stretch, but for me, every time I hear the name Charlemagne, I hear chameleon. That motherfucking reptile, that insect, that lizard, and he looks like a human one. Okay? Remember that nigga was bleaching hard back in the day. I don't remember. I think at some point he was, denying it when it was so blatantly obvious. And that's the thing with niggas like those. They think that they're so smart, but they're dumb. Because when you think of other people as being dumb, that's because you dumb. When you refuse to admit the obvious, it's either you just no comment rather than try to blatantly refuse the ignore deny the obvious. You just being dumb as hell, thinking you could take motherfuckers for an idiot. Okay, that nigga don't like himself. He feels it so. No doubt he gonna feel inferior towards Drizzy Drake, and that's why that nigga, that batty boy, been hating on Drizzy Drake for the longest fucking while. And enough said. That's the reason for his hate. That's that right fucking there. Just as how a lot of you bitches out there feel inferior to these light skinned bitches who are talentless and not even fucking cute, but you just obsessed and hate on them because you're jealous of them because they don't got as much exotic melanin as you do. Which I wouldn't even call your melanin exotic because you hate that shit and it just goes against you, bitch. So ain't nothing exotic up in your bitch ass bodies, okay? And that's fucking that. So, that's that. And then, the Caucasian ones, light skinned ones who are against Drizzy, Drizzy said it in a song, okay? Them niggas just listen to lame ass, goofy ass, puppet ass Kendrick because they feel fucking guilty for being Caucasian and light skinned. Enough said. Let me get into this old Kendrick shit. Now, y'all played into, Lucian Grange's hand. And the niggas were controlling Lucian Grange. Because if you think it stops right there, those motherfuckers, it's just like the whole Andrew Holness thing that I mentioned here in Jamaica. There are niggas out here who are Andrew Holness's boss. He's just a fucking puppet to those corporate niggas. Okay? He's just the face of them. He's just a nigga who takes the forefront for those niggas. Okay? Them niggas, they just want to be behind the scenes pulling fucking strings, throwing stones and hiding their motherfucking hands. That's just it. So if y'all think you just stop at these faces, them faces, you dumb as fuck. Okay? Let me get back to the whole Lucian Grange shit. UMG and shit. All that shit. Okay? I hear that Juicy, the Grammys they wanna, monetize off with Drizzy by playing into the whole, attention that, he's getting and though, from the public right now. Okay? They, institutions like the Grammys, they're hoes, attention hoes. Like whoever is kicking up a storm within a moment, that's who they gravitate to and run to. They're just fucking attention whores. Okay? And, if 3 albums were, all that was left for Juicy to do, he made history. He made history shading a motherfucking record label like that. Like, who the fuck does that? You got 3 albums left? And you just did them 3 albums and you just threw them motherfuckers in them motherfuckers' faces. Like, there, that's your shit. I'm done with you, bitches. Whether they flop or not, I don't give two fucks. So I don't care what you bitches out here be saying about Drizzy. That was some boss move. And at the end of the day, what the fuck, whatever they're gonna try to do, try to sabotage him or whatever, at the end of the day, which I said, it's the end of that shit. They may try that shit, it's not gonna work. I guarantee you. It's not that time and era where they did that shit to Mikey and where they did that. This 12-year cycle is a pivotal moment during the age of fucking Aquarius, fifth house being in Scorpio. What the fuck you gonna do? What you gonna do? They can't do shit. You try some shady ass shit and some spiteful shit and you get fucked up not too long after. Okay? Karma ain't taking long to serve bitches nowadays, okay? Judgment ain't taking long to appear on a motherfucker's life, in a motherfucker's life nowadays. Whether it's the good judgment or the bad motherfucking judgment. I've been telling y'all, you can take my fucking words to a fucking bank. And I'm done talking about that shit. Yo, she get the fucking gist right now. You see bitches getting karma left, right, and fucking center. What more fucking proof do you want, bitches? The fuck? So you got here what these niggas they love to do. So Mikey been saving the kids from these real pedos, and they try to flip the script and try to pin the whole pedo image on Michael Jackson. You see that shit? How them niggas rolled. You see that shit. And you wondered why none of them niggas came to Michael's rescue even though they knew he was innocent, because guess what? The same motherfuckers who flipped that script on Michael has files on all them other motherfuckers, and that's why the motherfuckers stay quiet. And some of them even, came out against Mikey. Narrative blood clot Cat Williams. Like, I used to think you were funny, but I hate your ass. That's why you look goofy as fucking hell. Get the fuck up off stage. Shut the fuck up. And that nigga Eddie Griffin. He's just looking for attention. Like, I thought that nigga was dead. I did not know that nigga was still alive. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, oh, yo, come, like, does your perspective as a dead ass comedian, so-called comedian who I never thought was funny, why does it matter? And let me tell you something. I think these Caucasian comedians are way funnier than a lot of these, black comedians. It's the honest truth. And that's why I don't watch comedy. I'm a straight horror film kind of chick. I don't do comedy, especially black comedy. The whole Will Smith, Martin Lawrence. I don't care what your perspective is. I just always thought they were cringy and corny as fuck. Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Griffiths, Eddie Murphy, um, Chris Rock. The only black comedian I actually found funny was Chris Tucker. That's the honest truth. And I understand why Michael found him funny too and took to him. It must be a Virgo thing, because I'm also a Virgo. Michael, was a Virgo. Okay, that's the only black ass motherfucker I found funny. Like, every of these other motherfuckers are just lame as fuck. Cat Williams, they're all just lamos. When they be coming in, you make it look like they're trying to expose shit. They're not doing nothing. They're just changing curtains. Let me just say that. Simple as that. They're just changing curtains, putting on, a different show. Putting on different curtains just to distract you into thinking on other shit. You know, and be like, oh, this nigga is, legit, because, like, he exposing that. Yeah, he exposing that to cover what? Okay, it's the same thing like with Trump, who on some level is my G. I just gotta say that. But he fucked up still. Still fucked up. Everybody's fucked up. Some more than others. Um, he a Gemini, by the way. I don't really like them motherfuckers, but for some reason I just don't know what it is about Trump. I guess maybe the fact that he's fucking people up, and I kind of like that destructive nature because of the Venus in Scorpio shit. The Venus in Scorpio aspect that I got. And then the moon in Aquarius. I love judgment. I just like seeing shit like those. Everybody Capricorn placements that I got, I'm just a kin of karma and Saturn, Cronus, and yeah.